The girl I'm dating is someone I met about 2 months ago. During our conversation, she mentioned that she has been with 4 men but now wants to wait. She has been celibate for 6 years and finds it challenging at times, but she is committed to this choice. I expressed my uncertainty about the situation. She realized that sex should be something shared with someone special and in a long-term relationship. In the past, she made mistakes and is determined not to repeat them. Story 1. Good for her. The self-discipline is admirable. But if her celibacy doesn't work for you, then end it. Sometimes otherwise compatible people don't align in their sexual needs, values, and priorities. It is not a matter of right versus wrong. People are just different. If neither is willing to budge, then they can't be together as romantic partners. Sad, but that is life. Personally, it wouldn't work for me in a relationship. I would be willing to try, but I would be troubled entering marriage without knowing our sexual compatibility. However, I would definitely respect her and be willing to remain friends. Story 2. Normally, I would agree with the other comments here, but if she has been celibate for 6 years, I am more inclined to believe there is an important shift in her thinking, assuming 6 years is accurate. If she just shifted her mindset last week, I would say good luck. But if I were in this situation and she was what I was looking for in a partner, I would definitely take the time to find out more about her before excluding her right away. Story 3. What does our opinion matter? You are dating her. What do you want? When you figure that out, you will be in a good place. So think about what you want, define it, and then make it happen. Story 4. Personally, I would never marry anyone I haven't slept with, but that's ultimately something you will have to decide for yourself. I would also find the idea even stranger if she has already had sexual experiences with other people. It seems odd to come to such a decision after being with 4 individuals. Story 5. What is your opinion on a woman who wants to wait until marriage? Regardless of the reasons or any period of celibacy beforehand, if intimacy is important to you, you may find that it is not a fulfilling aspect of that marriage. Story 6. She is a born-again virgin, which is not ideal. Her commitment to that promise for 6 years is commendable. Consider whether waiting until marriage for sex is something you can accept, or if you might come to resent her and feel like you wasted your time. Story 7. Biology has a plan for us all. This sounds transactional. If physical relationships are important to your balanced collaboration, then find someone who wants you to. I would sooner bet on politicians having a soul. Story 8. I have a problem because she has slept with multiple men before. I don't know if I could handle this situation or not. Story 9. She made a decision that is right for her. If it isn't right for you, end the relationship and move on. It doesn't matter if everyone supports her decision or no one does. It's right for her. You only get to decide what is right for you. Questioning what she finds right is disrespectful. She deserves better. Story 10. This is how you risk getting married to someone with wildly incompatible sexual needs and interests. The 2 spouses could have polar opposite libidos or needs that their partner is simply not willing to address, such as oral sex or meaningful foreplay. Many people like to have a full understanding of their future spouse, their financial standing and views, family goals, professional aspirations, living preferences, talents and weaknesses, and deeply held religious and ethical beliefs. Would you marry someone without being fully informed about these aspects? Sexuality is an important part of the whole person. Talking helps, but experiencing these things firsthand is much better. Observe how your partner interacts with family. Taste their cooking. Review both of your credit reports together and discuss the positive and negative financial events in your past. The practice of abstaining from sex until marriage worked for many of our ancestors, primarily because divorce wasn't a feasible option until about 50 to 60 years ago, and it has slowly become more accessible. People stayed in unhappy marriages and led unfulfilled lives. There's nothing wrong with a person's desire for celibacy, but they and their marriage partner may enter into a lifelong agreement, woefully uninformed about an important aspect of the relationship. Make smart decisions. Story 11. There is no take to have. Either you're okay with it or you're not. My opinion won't matter much. She might be firm on this or she might change her mind. There is a lot of sexual activity that might qualify as not sex. You don't have to be committed to people for whatever reason, valid or otherwise. 6 years is a long time. It doesn't matter if she was with 4 guys, 1 guy, or 10 guys. She hasn't been involved for 6 years. You might want to ask her if she has a healthy sex drive, because if you marry with mismatched desires for intimacy, it could be detrimental for both of you. Story 12. I am a religious person and find it very respectable. I understand that it is not suitable for everyone, especially for men, but it feels like a sign of trust from both sides. At the end of the day, we all have different standards and opinions about relationships. Story 13. For me, that's a huge no. Marriage is a significant legal commitment. In any other legal commitment, you thoroughly examine everything before you agree to the terms. Marriage is no exception. You should know everything about each other, including your religious values, politics, ambitions, health, and sexual compatibility. Story 14. She will break the rules for the next guy she's genuinely attracted to and wants to be with. I wouldn't believe for a second it's been 6 years. No way. Story 15. Next, I am anti-marriage. In this case, I am not even sure what would be worse, her being truthful about being celibate for 6 years or being dishonest. Story 16. I did this with my wife. We have been married for 23 years. She had some bad experiences with men, feeling pressured to have sex to maintain a relationship or keep a man interested. I had just gotten out of a brief marriage and had gone through a phase of casual relationships. I started to feel bad about it. When I met my wife, we began spending time together, and she kissed me the first time we were alone, but we didn't go any further. We talked about our pasts and got to know each other better. I decided to set some physical boundaries because I needed to get my head straight, and she had not been respected in past relationships, with men pursuing only their physical needs. A few months passed where we were really getting to know each other. We were physical but had not had sex. She was confused about my hesitation. I asked her to marry me, and we continued to get to know each other, making it clear that we needed to wait until marriage. During our engagement, we explored physical intimacy, and a day before our wedding, we ended up having sex. I know we could have waited one more day, but it felt right in the moment. She felt secure, valued, respected, and loved, and so did I. If you are looking for a long-term relationship, building a strong foundation is key. Sex can cloud your thinking. Red flags can be ignored, and it can become a huge distraction, especially when learning how to love and understand your partner's needs. Story 17. I am a woman sharing my perspective, and I hope you don't mind. I believe that if you aren't compatible sexually, the relationship won't work, even if everything else is perfect. However, that's just my opinion. You know in your gut if this person is the right one for you. True love is real, and you will feel it if it's right. Story 18. I wouldn't date her personally, but I don't find anything wrong with it either. It's just that we wouldn't be compatible. Story 19. I wouldn't pressure her or give her an ultimatum, but I would wait for the next person. Sexual compatibility is too important to me to discover only after marriage. Additionally, there is a chance she is religious, which is not suitable for me. You have to do what is best for you. Story 20. My take is that they lack wisdom. I have a similar opinion about religious individuals in general, so your mileage may vary. Story 21. As a man waiting until marriage, that doesn't bother me as I'm doing the same. However, I wouldn't want to wait for someone who has been with 4 other partners. I personally want someone who shares the same conviction as I do. Story 22. I would be concerned that the ghosts of her mistakes might still haunt the marriage. Has she undergone any therapy? Story 23. My personal rule is that sex doesn't need to happen on specific dates, but it does need to occur before marriage. Sex is an incredibly personal aspect, and it's important to ensure compatibility before making a lifelong decision that significantly influences the relationship. Sex is not the entirety of a relationship. I usually consider it to account for about 15 to 20%. However, if everything else in the relationship is perfectly aligned, you are still only achieving a B if that aspect is incompatible. Usually, A 0% compatibility in sex can lead to other issues in the relationship unless both individuals identify as asexual. You may have different opinions and standards. It is vital to make decisions that reflect your personal values and goals, rather than adhere to the standards of others. This encompasses setting boundaries with partners, including the necessity of sexual compatibility before marriage. This does not mean pressuring a partner to compromise their boundaries. It involves expressing your own boundaries, and if they do not align, seeking a different relationship that is a better fit. Before abandoning your current relationship, if your partner feels that previous instances were mistakes, it may be beneficial to understand why they feel this way and to see if there is a way to address their concerns while maintaining mutual comfort with boundaries. I recommend having these types of discussions in general, even if the relationship may not last. Long-term relationships require conversations about difficult issues and finding reasonable compromises that meet everyone's needs, or at least attempting to do so. Story 24. I think it's great that she wants to do that, but I know myself well enough to know that it isn't going to work for me. 2 years, in my experience, is the ideal time to consider marriage because you both know each other well, you have moved past the initial crush phase, and you can see your partner without idealizing them. I absolutely cannot wait that long to have sex. I experienced this in my previous marriage, and in the end, we were mismatched in terms of sexual chemistry. I would never put myself through that again unless there is exceptionally strong social chemistry. If you decide to be with her, then you have to commit to respecting her decision. You must control yourself and your urges and not try to undermine her decision and values. Story 25. One woman wanted to spend the night with me. It was the third or fourth time we had a sleepover, but I had work the next day, so I told her I was going home to get a good night's rest. She called me to ask about our relationship. I told her we could just date, but it felt more like we were friends, which was fine. I expressed that I didn't feel comfortable staying over because I wouldn't be relaxed or a good sleeping partner. I really enjoyed going out with her and suggested we could see where things were headed, but I wasn't going to take the relationship seriously if we weren't being physically intimate. It felt like a high school relationship. We ended up going out a few more times. Eventually, I hung out with another girl who wanted to be physically intimate, which pretty much ended everything. Story 26. As an adult man, it would be a deal breaker. I am in a relationship with another adult, and I want an adult relationship. Sexual compatibility is part of that for the vast majority of people. While I can respect that she has held to this for years, assuming she is being honest, I cannot pretend it wouldn't bother me that she has had sexual relationships with multiple other men, potentially every other relationship but yours. 2 months isn't long to go without intimacy. Even a year I could understand. But not having any sexual experience until marriage risks disaster, because if that day comes, it will likely be awkward and uncomfortable. If you find that you aren't sexually compatible, then the whole relationship may fall apart unless you no longer care about intimacy. Story 27. She has been with 4 people and doesn't want to make it 5. I respect that, but I don't think I would marry someone I had never been intimate with. Story 28. No thanks. If she is frigid, hates intimacy, or is simply not passionate in bed, you are in trouble. Intimacy is not everything, but a lack of it is. Story 29. I do not understand this attitude towards sex. How are you supposed to know if you are sexually compatible? This is a recipe for disaster. Story 30. I'm fine with someone who hasn't had sexual experience having this opinion. They have no frame of reference, so it is reasonable for them to believe it is in their best interest to save themselves for someone they will love for a long time. A woman who has already had sex with multiple partners? No thanks. First of all, she has already experienced intimacy, and that special moment is gone. She won't magically forget what sex was like, which leads me to my second point. Second, we have no idea if we are sexually compatible. She already knows what her libido is like, the type of intimacy she enjoys, and the kind of sexual attitude she desires in a partner. Finding out you're not even close to what each other wants after marriage would be a disaster. Why would you sign a lifelong contract with someone who isn't willing to prove they can uphold their end of the bargain? And yes, intimacy is an implied part of the marriage agreement unless specifically excluded. If you don't think so, Ask yourself if you're okay with your partner being intimate with others. If you're not okay with that, then it is an expectation of the marriage until one of you is unable. Lastly, discussing love languages is very popular, so let's talk about them. Most men's love language tends to be physical touch. Is the man expected to go through all the relationship stages without having her express his love language, still be in love, and want to propose? And let me guess, her expectation is that he'll be using her primary love language the entire time? Again, no thanks. I would not participate in such an unbalanced arrangement to appease whatever mental struggle she is going through. A large part of me believes this is just a tactic used by an older woman, no longer in her 20s, to try to accelerate the timeline to a proposal. It might work on someone, and perhaps that's you, but I would just end it right there. I wouldn't be the partner they are looking for. Story 31. If she has the V card and we share a religion, then I am all for waiting. However, for someone new, my past relationships are behind me. No. Story 32. I would not date a woman who wanted to wait beyond 3 to 5 dates to have intimacy, let alone commitment. It's a simple decision. There are more downsides than upsides in that situation. Story 33. I believe setting a contractual date for when to engage in sexual activity is an inherently bad idea, but I wish them the best of luck. Story 34. She can do whatever she wants, but she has already been with 4 men. I'm not sticking around. If she were truly a virgin, I would consider it, but I am not wasting my time with a born-again virgin. Story 35. I would ask why, because that is unusual from my experience. I am healthy and need a release regularly, but I would be willing to compromise. Story 36. Sexual compatibility is an important aspect of a relationship, just as personality, spirituality, beliefs, and ideology are. While I agree that sex is significant, it seems that the statement about having had experiences but feeling regret is more related to issues of self-confidence and self-worth. It sounds like she has had encounters with partners who hurt, abandoned, or ghosted her, and she has connected those sexual experiences to negative feelings. It is important to acknowledge that these unresolved issues can carry into any marriage, and I believe they are not something you want to contribute to potential conflicts in a marital relationship. Story 37. It all depends on how much importance you place on being sexually compatible. It is usually important. I would wager that a significant percentage of divorces occur because of it. Personally, since divorce exists, the idea of waiting until marriage doesn't make sense to me. I would prefer to find out sooner rather than later. Considering physical needs, it is an instant deal breaker for me. I would even call it a red flag. Story 38. Ask yourself what it really means to wait for marriage. Would you like your future wife to have that kind of discipline and self-respect? Story 39. It can be hard for the other person not to take such a stance personally. However, it is important to remember that people make mistakes, learn, and can change and grow. It seems she realized she was engaging in behaviors that weren't leading to long-term fulfillment, so she made a positive change. Building a relationship around each other rather than just physical attraction will be healthier in the long run. Eventually, that physical appeal will fade. If the entire relationship is based solely on it, then it will crumble at that point. Story 40. She needs to find a man who also wants to wait. If you do not want to, then you should not continue to date her. Do not marry her just for physical intimacy. That is a dangerous path and it will end poorly. Story 41. I have been abstinent longer than she has. I feel that sexual compatibility is something to figure out before marriage. It sounds like she has been hurt, which is understandable. However, for the health of a lifelong commitment, it is important to find out if you are compatible. What if your libido causes issues? What if she wants sex every 7 years? It's all subjective and strange. Story 42. I see a giant red flag. Compatibility is an issue, and sexual compatibility is a significant concern. What if she stopped because she does not enjoy it? What if she stopped due to past trauma and carries that emotional damage into your relationship? What if she has had numerous partners, which could affect her ability to bond and lead her to compare you to others? Why do I say all of the above? I was married to someone with a history of trauma. We waited until marriage, and then, after marriage, our relationship turned into a total dead bedroom. The problem with a dead bedroom is that it affects you deeply. It makes you doubt your attractiveness, question whether they love or even like you, and feel trapped in a relationship that resembles a roommate situation. It brings with it a strong sense of rejection. Her being active and then stopping suggests that past experiences have negatively impacted her. So you should be cautious about marrying anyone with significant emotional baggage. Story 43. It would not work for me, as I would find it a huge gamble to wait until marriage to realize if there is sexual chemistry or aligned libido levels. Most importantly, this is a decision that both partners need to feel comfortable with. Each couple is different. This is a great opportunity to discuss important decisions and navigate through possible solutions together. Story 44. I have encountered some women who are amazing in bed. I have also encountered some who were not satisfactory. I do not want to wait until I need legal assistance to break it off to find out which one she is. Story 45. Honestly, there is no perspective here. She has established a clear boundary that you should respect. If it is something you cannot do, you should inform her immediately. Do not pretend you can when you really cannot. This is important. You would be lying otherwise, and it is better she knows now than finds out years later after she has invested so much time in the relationship. Story 46. Different situations can influence perspectives. Usually, it's not for me, though I wish them well. I must say that I'm always cautious of women who have had multiple partners in the past, but now suddenly want to wait for marriage, especially if they claim, it's because you're special. I understand everyone is different and that diverse experiences lead to varied reactions. It's also true that not everyone acts in self-interest. However, there are too many cases of using intimacy as a means to manipulate someone into rushing into a commitment. Marriage is a significant decision. You should fully understand the person before making such a commitment. Think with your mind, not with your emotions. Story 47. My first girlfriend wanted to wait until marriage, and I agreed. Later, I found out that she was cheating on me, even talking to other people while we were in a long-distance relationship. I know it's not every woman, but I refused to be fooled again. I decided to end the relationship. Story 48. I would like her. She said she realized that intimacy should be something shared with someone special and long-term. She is correct. Story 49. If she is a virgin, then okay, I respect that. However, if she is not a virgin and is now behaving in that manner, I would find it concerning. Basically, she is making the guy she is interested in wait for her while putting him through all these tests, while previous guys received a free pass. I would find that offensive if you ask me. Story 50. If she has already been with other men, then I will leave her. If she is a true virgin, then I am willing to wait depending on how strong the relationship is. Story 51. She opened her legs for 4 other people but won't open them for you. You're in for a difficult situation if you commit to this person. Story 52. I understand her reasoning, but it's still not a good idea. She may genuinely believe what she says, but a significant part of her still sees you as the stable person she rewards with transactional intimacy. It will always be transactional with her. You're starting off on the wrong foot. She claims she wants it to be something special, but it often turns into a one-way performance that becomes a burden for you. She has more expectations while you find yourself with additional burdens. Making it special for her and presenting it as special exactly when she decides and to the degree she expects. It's not a position I would want to be in. It's quite a challenge to learn that intimacy should be special. Story 53. It's a great quality. It may seem outdated in today's society, but it is admirable. My main concern is with men's tendency to pressure others into not abstaining without having a genuine plan for a future together. Story 54. Not a virgin means she was willing to engage in relationships without commitment in the past. Now, the first man she takes seriously after realizing the value of commitment must jump through hoops, even though he is offering more while she is offering less. In fact, she expects a lifelong commitment for something she previously treated as a temporary experience for fleeting feelings of being desired. You decide for yourself. Does this sound like an offer that, once accepted, would lead her to take you seriously? Or maybe she already understands that the offer was skewed and unrealistic, yet you still accepted it. This could suggest that you are easy to take advantage of, and she may continue exploiting that since you are committed for life. You be the judge. After all, we can only observe dynamics that may or may not play out. My comment represents one of the more negative possibilities, and unfortunately, the chances for that are not zero. Story 55. In the past, she made mistakes and doesn't want to do that anymore. That is a judgment call on your part. Many women with bad intentions use the phrase, "I'm more mature now," to manipulate unsuspecting individuals into marriage. Suddenly, she appears modest and virtuous. If you understand what I mean, could be that she is honest. There are signs to look for. It might go well, but be cautious of a woman who deceives you with false modesty. That's not a life partner. That's a predator. Be careful out there. Story 56. She had her fun, and now she wants to be a good girl who wants to wait until marriage. I think it's too late for her to find a person with similar values. I would leave this relationship. Story 57. I have a strong aversion to it, but you cannot fault someone for choosing to live that way. It is often a choice made by individuals who are deeply religious. Personally, I would not be able to do it. However, I also oppose marriage in general. Story 58. No, thank you. I am not marrying someone without knowing if we are sexually compatible. I do not want to be in a situation where they suddenly realize they are asexual or something similar. Story 59. That's a respectable personal choice. I will not fault a woman for wanting that. However, that wouldn't work for me, and I do not see that relationship progressing. Story 60. Only you can answer this because this is very personal. Her choice is about herself, not you. You should understand these things. Are you okay with it? Are you going to wait? What guarantees you that you will be together? What if she changes her mind? What if you are not sexually compatible no matter how many times you try? I can't give you an idea because you are the only one who has the chance to know her and form your own opinion. Consider two scenarios. She is being honest with you. What she said takes great self-discipline and is very rare. I don't trust women who say such things. Practicing celibacy can sometimes be a way to hide their past. For many, they have their own definition of celibacy, which usually doesn't include one-night stands or random encounters. It was a one-time thing is an excuse that comes up occasionally. For sexual partners and 6 years without sex since her last experience is hard to believe. It raises suspicion about what she has been doing during that time, as even below-average women often have someone trying to pursue them. Again, I can't judge this situation. Personally, I wouldn't wait until marriage. Story 61. It depends on the situation, but I never saw it as a positive. To me, it always feels like someone is closing off a part of themselves from the relationship while expecting me to be fully committed to it. I understand not wanting to have sex until feeling secure or serious in the relationship. However, it can take years to go from dating to marriage, and there is no guarantee that you will be sexually compatible once you finally sleep together after marriage. It is also worth mentioning that not having sex does not automatically make someone a better decision maker. My wife was celibate when we met. She was not dating or even choosing better partners after she started being celibate. I was the first person she dated after that decision, and I just happened to be a good match for her. The important thing to consider is what she brings to the relationship outside of sex. I had a time limit for how long I would date my wife without intimacy. I never gave her an ultimatum, but I had set a time frame for myself. The original plan was that if we crossed that time without being intimate, I would stop dating her. However, she would extend our time together by doing things that showed she was invested in the relationship. For example, she would bring me food after work if I had a long day. She showed interest in my hobbies and found ways to be helpful. She was putting in more effort than other women I was dating at that time, and that was important whether we were intimate or not. Everything she did was not enough to sustain us until marriage, as we were together for 7 years before tying the knot. But it did give her an extra month or two when we first started dating. Story 62. The question is, do you like her enough to wait? Or does sex mean that much to you? Obviously, sex has caused her to make mistakes. This is her situation. If you can't handle it, leave her. It's a simple decision. Now everyone is talking about compatibility. Those who feel sex is that important cannot be upset about body count. You may be good together in bed, but outside of that, is there anything? I believe that through good communication, people can become comparable or close enough. Communication is important. I dated someone with whom I had no sexual compatibility, but she was very assertive about her preferences. Unfortunately, she was also the unfaithful type and cheated from day one, even before we became intimate. I found that out later. I ended the relationship because we were not compatible outside the bedroom either. Story 63. Question her libido. She gives you her score and then becomes celibate for 6 years. What about her toys? Does she have any? 2 months into the relationship, she doesn't see the spark she's looking for. Continue with caution. Story 64. Do you think she is worth waiting for? Do you see long-term potential here? If not, let her go now and save both of you the heartache. Story 65. That's a no. First, we have very different views on sex. Second, I am too eager to not be having sex with the girl I am seeing. Story 66. Someone who can suppress their sex drive for 6 years may not be genuinely interested in sex after marriage. Story 67. It depends on you and your feelings. In terms of no sexual activity, is that just penile-vaginal intercourse? Or can you still be intimate in other ways? Story 68. Definitely not until marriage. I might be open to waiting for a couple more months until we get to know each other better and become comfortable, but not for too long or until a commitment like marriage. If she is still unsure if I am someone special enough after getting to know me, she is free to look for someone special elsewhere, and I will be open to a new relationship. Story 69. I see it as a misguided individual making a poor decision. For her, having been with others before, it is an ineffective solution to a non-existent problem. Why would someone marry before knowing if they are sexually compatible? Why assume that abstaining from sex has no positive impact on a relationship compared to being intimate? What is this individual's aversion to sex? All of these would be deal breakers for me. I have no patience for those who cannot think critically. Story 70. She said she realized that intimacy should be something shared with someone special and long-term. In the past, she made mistakes and doesn't want to repeat them. That's fine, but waiting for marriage seems like an overcorrection. Why not 6 months? Why not a year? Having to go through a divorce after discovering that you aren't sexually compatible doesn't sound enjoyable. Story 71. Recipe for disaster. What if you get to the bedroom and find that you are not compatible or want different things, or discover that you do not enjoy things you thought you would, but now you are committed by marriage? There is something to be said for it, but she has been with 4 other men. Not that this is a big deal, but why make marriage the sacred finish line for her next partner? Set a different milestone like 6 months or a year or something. Story 72. Would you ever buy a car without checking that the dashboard doesn't light up like a Christmas tree? I can understand saving for a year or several months to establish significant commitment or saving it for someone special, but making a life-altering decision without the full knowledge reasonably available to you is negligent. Sexual compatibility is a cornerstone of a healthy relationship. Look at any situation where intimacy is lacking and ask yourself if you'd like to end up there. I can respect it in the sense of acknowledging the autonomy of another human being, but the decision itself is far too rushed for wisdom to catch up. A very highly regarded position, some might say. Story 73. Waiting until marriage as a virgin is one thing. Going through a phase with others and then becoming celibate for the guy she wants to marry raises concerns and may lead to an unhappy relationship. It's best to move on. Additionally, you have no way of verifying whether she has actually been celibate for 6 years. Story 74. I would not marry her. I would never marry anyone who refused to have sexual relations with me until marriage. How can you be sure you will be sexually compatible? She has been with 4 men but wants to wait with you? That's a red flag as well. Run. Story 75. There is a difference between waiting for marriage and waiting for someone special in the long term. If she is willing to wait for someone with whom she has had a great relationship for a while, then that is a reasonable choice. Ultimately, she should do what she is comfortable with. However, sexual compatibility is important in a long-term relationship. Committing to marriage before knowing if the two of you are sexually compatible is very risky, and I would not recommend it. Story 76. I feel sorry for her for buying into the self-denial regarding sexual needs promoted by certain religious beliefs that can be detrimental. For further evidence, consider historical texts or current news about conflicts such as Ukraine and Gaza, among others. Additionally, I would have left her yesterday because sexual chemistry and compatibility are crucial for a long-term partnership or marriage. Marrying someone with whom you have never been intimate and have no understanding of your sexual compatibility is a poor decision. I also question her intelligence, as taking such a drastic measure to address any issues usually indicates an inability to devise a more nuanced and thoughtfully considered solution. Lastly, I would be very concerned about her sexual desire being significantly lower than mine. I don't believe I could go longer than 3 months without intimacy, let alone endure 6 long years. If you enjoy intimacy in any form, I recommend finding another partner. This one may bring you unhappiness. Story 77. Absolutely not. Not from a virgin, and definitely not from a woman who has had sexual experiences but thought better of it. Marriage is a significant commitment, and I am not willing to take chances and just hope that my wife and I will be sexually compatible after entering into a legal contract. In your case, I am not sure it's even safe to assume that your girlfriend enjoys sex. I do not consider any of my sexual activities to be mistakes, and this kind of language makes me uncomfortable. Honestly, I would not feel safe sleeping with someone who speaks about sex in this manner, let alone marrying them. Story 78. If she can remain celibate after having sex, that's impressive. Consider how much you enjoy sex. You might be sexually incompatible. You don't want to discover this after marriage. If you're okay with not having sex regularly, it may work for you. Personally, I would not wait until marriage to have sex. I'm not planning on getting married again. Best of luck. Story 79. I will only take her stance seriously if she is a virgin. Otherwise, I am just paying for her past mistakes or she does not like me that much. Story 80. I believe they are engaging in a risky situation. I would not want to wait until there is a legally binding document to discover if I am sexually compatible with my partner. This is likely to lead to problems. Story 81. Depends on the circumstances. I have never had sex before, but I may or may not wait until marriage to do so. I am religious, but my lack of sexual experience has little to do with that and more to do with my extremely busy academic schedule. If I meet a woman who is also a virgin, all other factors aside, I will gladly wait until our wedding night for sex. However, if she is a born-again virgin, I will pass. I have enough challenges in my life, and I do not want to be a fallback option for women with a complicated past. I do not care what people say, but I am not comfortable marrying anyone who has been with more people than I have. It is not about passing moral judgments on a woman's character. I simply do not want to feel anxious about comparisons to other men sexually. If that makes me insecure, then so be it. Story 82. That's her choice. If she's open to exploring other activities, I think I could give it a try, but I don't believe it would last long before it became unfulfilling for me. Kudos to her for the 6 years. That requires a remarkable level of self-control. Sex should be something shared with someone special in a long-term relationship. There's nothing about this statement that doesn't apply to a serious boyfriend or girlfriend relationship. There is a good chance it's a tactic to push for a quick marriage. Story 83. If she does that with every guy, I don't mind waiting up to a year. However, waiting until marriage is unwise because what if you are sexually incompatible? The girl I'm dating, whom I met about 2 months ago, brought up the topic. She has been with 4 men but wants to wait now. She says she has been celibate for 6 years and finds it hard sometimes, but she really wants to stay true to this commitment. I told her I don't know. This situation, on the other hand, is completely different. I am not going to be told I need to wait when other guys didn't, and it feels like I am being indirectly told that I am lesser. It is both insulting to me and goes against basic fairness, while also making me think she is not actually into me. Story 84. If she wants to wait until marriage and has always been that way, then I support that. If she has had previous relationships and now wants to wait but only with me, that feels unfair. It's up to you to determine where you draw the line between acceptable and unacceptable behavior. Make your own decision. Story 85. The classic recently reborn and repentant virgin. That would be a no for me, but it's your life. I would speculate that getting involved with someone like this could mean sex would become a chore, duty, or reward system once you marry her. This sounds like the makings of a future Dead Bedrooms post. Story 86. I would take some time to see if she is open to discussing the mistakes she made. Often, emotions cloud our judgment and blind us to seeing the person as objectively as possible. I have found that many women do not trust themselves after a failed relationship. Part of this is an attempt to regain control in some way. Consider this from a future perspective. If she does have a healthy relationship with her sexuality but desires to share it only with her husband, this could be a wonderful characteristic in a wife, one that she actively supports. Story 87. It is her right. However, if she is not interested in any form of intimacy and does not show a genuine connection to you, then you may be entering a relationship lacking physical intimacy. Story 88. If she was a virgin, there would be no issue with wanting to wait. However, now she wants to sell a used car for new car prices. Story 89. It's not the act itself. It's the underlying issues that cause individuals like her to fixate on it. These issues often stem from religion, culture, or trauma. In this case, it is some form of trauma, and now she regards sex as an ultimate ritual that should be revered. Simply a physical act. If you want to address any of that, then feel free to take your time. Story 90. If a woman wants to wait until marriage, that is her prerogative. If she has been with other partners and wants to wait with you, then you need to stand your ground and consider leaving her. She may have underlying issues. Story 91. If you don't know that someone is special and long-term before marriage, then I wouldn't consider getting married. To me, it seems like a test of loyalty, and that does not sit well with me. Story 92. To be honest, I respect that about her. However, that also makes me wonder if she will not be very supportive as a wife either. Story 93. Too many variables. She could be lying about her celibacy. She could be lying about her past sexual partners. Why do you have to wait if it's not what you want? What happened to her 6 years ago that made her give up sex? Assuming it is true. What if you get married and the intimacy is not satisfying? What's stopping you from finding someone who desires intimacy with you? How long did the other 4 individuals have to wait, and why didn't she marry them? I know dating is tough these days, but I would always choose to do what is right for you first, every day and twice on Sunday. Story 94. I don't think I will wait for marriage under any circumstances, but it is even worse if she is not a virgin. If she can go years without commitment, why should I believe she would change once she gets a ring? Story 95. Did she make the guys wait in her past? No. She had sex with them the instant she could. Then, 2 years into the marriage, there's a dead bedroom because the man she thinks she is supposed to love isn't the same fun and exciting guy from the past. Story 96. Only matters if she is a virgin, maybe with one other partner. For guys, and now she wants to wait. This is a huge red flag. Story 97. It is entirely her decision to make. You can accept it or end the relationship. There is a third option, trying to convince her otherwise and making it clear that this is your perspective. Ultimately, it is her choice. Personally, I would walk away. Just don't be inappropriate and you will be fine. Story 98. Use a photo of hers to check if she has been on dating apps like Tinder or Hinge. Many women may not be truthful. Studies suggest that a significant percentage have a backup partner in case their current relationship doesn't work out. Research indicates that women with a history of more than 9 partners face a higher likelihood of divorce, with estimates around 85%. The average number of partners is around 50, and it is likely much higher for some individuals. Story 99. That's not for me personally. It means our sex drives are too different, and we aren't compatible sexually. Story 100. You do what you want. I don't want to know if you want something serious, marriage at some point, or whatever, but you know how long you are willing to wait. Now, a true story in which it paid off for one of my friends not to waste any more time. He is also very religious, unlike me. He started dating a girl who wanted to wait until they got married. They dated for over 4 months, and she did not want to have sex because of her religious views, but she had already had multiple partners before him. After those 4 months, he gave up on her and started dating someone else. When the first girl saw this, she kept calling him in desperation. She would call him constantly. How do I know that? We went out walking and she called him repeatedly. At one point, he even answered her and asked her to stop calling, so it became harassment. The next girl he started dating is now his wife, and he is happy. What I learned is to wait until I feel it is right for me, then move on. If she had been a virgin, that would have been a completely different story. I would have been willing to wait much longer. Story 101. These comments make me sad. It is really up to you. I can only go by what you are telling us, but it sounds like she wants more of an emotional commitment before the physical, possibly due to her past. This, in my opinion, is a good thing. However, the decision is entirely yours on how you want to proceed. You need to do some self-reflecting and see if you can handle being in a relationship without sex. Story 102. My kind of girl. I waited for marriage. While my wife wasn't a virgin when we met, we didn't have sex until we were married. 21 wonderful years and counting. Story 103. Are we referring to all sexual activity or just vaginal sex? I don't know many girls who excel at oral sex but suddenly struggle with vaginal sex. If she is open to other forms of intimacy, I could make it work if she is the right girl. Story 104. She has been celibate for 6 years now. It sounds unbelievable. There is no way to truly know, for partners might not be accurate either. Often, women count their partners differently. For example, they may not count one-night stands, or if it was a one-time encounter. Unless she is genuinely trying to keep you and is paying for every date, I wouldn't waste my younger years in a sexless relationship. The original poster should tell her that he does not mind continuing to see her, but if she wants exclusivity, she needs to engage sexually. This seems like a fair compromise in my opinion. Story 105. I wonder if there is a type of man she wouldn't make wait. I think women like this get hurt in the past and then decide to take a break from men. But why should all future suitors suffer because of her failed relationships? A man with options probably wouldn't wait. Story 106. I respect her ability to choose whatever she wants, and I would never want to take that away from her. However, it is a poor idea for any man to expect to desire any woman who waits for marriage, especially someone who is not genuinely waiting for marriage but is simply delaying with him. She is already not a virgin. What is the man waiting for? To determine her performance so he might risk losing half of his possessions? Story 107. And you believe she has been celibate for 6 years because, but if you want to wait while she was involved with 4 men, assuming she is being truthful, you do what you think is best. Story 108. I am not a Christian, nor do I believe in waiting for sex, so I would not be interested in her. That being said, there are 3 scenarios. If she is a virgin, I would find her stance respectable and respectfully decline. If she is not a virgin but has not had a promiscuous phase, I would find her stance incompatible and pass. If she is promiscuous, I would tell her to leave me alone. Thanks a bunch for sticking around till the end of the video. Remember to subscribe, and until next time, stay awesome and goodbye.